Okay, my name is Will Ryan. Here's some of my note cards. Excuse me. Okay. What if I told you that the highest court in the land was not an unbiased paragon of justice, but instead our nation's most powerful policymakers? As incredibly outlandish as that may seem, it is the reality for our Supreme Court. For years, presidents have focused on appointing judges who uphold their ideals rather than candidates who would be the most politically neutral. Over time, this has led us to a point where courts can make some of the most influential decisions in our democracy, and all based on personal attitudes. Today, I implore you to consider the nature of the United States justice system, to decide if it is a neutral justice body or merely a political tool through the attitudinal model. In Jeffrey Segal and Harold Spate's frequently cited and well-regarded article, The Supreme Court and the Attitudinal Model, attitudinalism is defined as a court disputing cases in the eyes of facts and attitudes of the justices. According to the U.S. Court's website, the Supreme Court chooses roughly 100 to 150 cases to hear every year, and their decisions on these cases have complete finality and can only be reversed by another Supreme Court decision. This is an incredible amount of power for a non-elected government body to wield. And as a result, I aim to use the next few minutes to challenge you to consider that the Supreme Court of the United States makes decisions based on the attitudinal model and not based on previous precedents and laws themselves. First, let's discuss how some of the most important policy decisions in our nation's history have been made using the Supreme Court. When someone is appointed to the Supreme Court, they serve for life, and their decisions cannot be undone by any other branch of government. Throughout history, this has become blatantly evident with several important Supreme Court decisions. One of these major cases is Bush v. Gore. This case refers to the 2000 presidential election in which Democratic candidate Al Gore was running against Republican candidate George W. Bush. The entire election was soon to be determined by the Electoral College votes in the state of Florida, but issues with ballots led to mayhem in the state's electorate. In Beyond Counting Votes, The Political Economy of Bush v. Gore, Stearns and Abramowitz, both well-regarded and published law professors, write that the U.S. Supreme Court decided to take up the case, despite many saying that they expected them to leave it to Florida's Supreme Court. The court itself was split 5-4 in political ideologies, and in the end the justices made their decisions along party lines, 5 conservatives siding with Bush and 4 liberals siding with Al Gore. This case is often cited when discussing attitudinalism, as it shows clearly how the justices had the opportunity to uphold precedent and allow Florida's Supreme Court to make decisions based on its own election laws, but instead they took the opportunity to decide the fate of the election on their own hands. Consider this definition and how the Supreme Court had the option to stick with precedent, but instead used their power to make a major decision based on their own attitudinal beliefs. Next, let's discuss the matter of justice appointments. Supreme Court justices are almost always referred to as being either liberal or conservative, and unsurprisingly, the term that they are labeled with seems to always coincide with the ideology of the president who nominated them. To continue, I believe it would be important to consider the most recent Supreme Court nominee while discussing this topic. According to the White House's website, Justice Amy Coney Barrett was nominated by President Trump to the Supreme Court on September 26, 2020. Democratic senators on the Judicial Committee were dissatisfied with her nomination, as she was notably attitudinal in nature. BBC News, a nonpartisan independent news organization, published a detailed article on Barrett's judicial philosophy and previous rulings. BBC references a 1998 article that Barrett co-wrote in which she makes a statement on her personal faith, saying that Catholic judges are obliged to adhere to their moral teachings of the Church. This statement raised questions about her attitudinal ideals. However, Barrett denies this, and she has made several statements that contradict the idea that she is an attitudinalist. For example, in 2016, she spoke to students at Jacksonville University, saying that justices shouldn't be appointed based on policy preferences, but that we should be putting people in the courts who want to apply the Constitution. Though she made this statement, her actions as a judge show that her decisions are often based in her own personal beliefs rather than in laws and precedents. This is most clearly seen in her views on abortion and the ruling of Roe v. Wade. Twice in the appeals court, she has ruled on restrictions for abortion, such as requiring young people to gain consent from their parents in order to have one, and calling for a state law that sought to ban some abortion cases from being reheard in the courts. As stated in precedent in the United States Supreme Court, these decisions directly conflict with the current precedent, showing how her decisions were attitudinal. I hope I have displayed to you just how justices of the Supreme Court are not unbiased paragons who serve the law, but instead attitudinal policymakers of immense power and influence. Understanding how our justices of the Supreme Court are biased toward their own personal beliefs can help us to consider how we as a nation should push for our courts to uphold the laws and precedents established, rather than breaking to make decisions based only on their own attitudes. It isn't easy to be unbiased and leave our opinions out of the decisions that we make, but when it comes to the branch of government that can make some of the most important decisions that last for generations, the American people deserve better than justices who vote as they please rather than as the law requires. Thank you.